All right, everybody, welcome to this year's Poetry Out Loud competition. I'm Mr. Higgins. I'll be the sort of host MC for the competition today. We have 13 contestants this year in the Poetry Out Loud competition. There will be 2 rounds. Each of the contestants will come up and recite their very first poem. That'll probably take us about 45 minutes. There will be a short break in between, and then the contestants come up for a second round and recite their second poem. We'll tabulate both the scores and we'll come up with a winner at the very end. Here's some things about Poetry Out Loud that you may not know. Poetry Out Loud is a partnership with the National Endowment for the Arts, the Poetry Foundation, and a bunch of state and jurisdictional arts agencies. The program began in 2005, and since it began, more than 4.3 million students and 76,000 teachers from 19,000 schools across the nation have participated in Poetry Out Loud. And I believe that Massachusetts has the highest participation rate than any other state. I think California might be second. Poetry Out Loud takes place in all 50 states: American Samoa, the District of Columbia, Guam, Puerto Rico, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. High schools and organizations that take place in the competition usually conduct the contest between September and February. If whoever wins our competition today, that student then gets to go on to the regional competition in Massachusetts, which is usually held on Cape Cod sometime in March. The winner of that competition goes to the state finals, which are held in Boston every year in mid-March. And then the winner of that competition gets the opportunity to go to the national finals in Washington, D.C., which I think are in April every year. The winner of that competition ends up with a $20,000 prize at the very end. So we're excited about this year's group of contestants. So now what I did not tell the contestants or anybody else is that I used ChatGPT last night to come up with a limerick for each one of these students to introduce their poem. So if you're not familiar with what a limerick is a quick 5-line poem with a very, very specific rhyme scheme. And ChatGPT seems to be very, very good at creating these poems. So the order in which we're going to go through today, I just want to make it clear to everybody. First, we have Sophie de Oliveira. Second will be UV Tomar. Third will be Annika Dupre. Fourth will be Tamitha Cabral Elliott. Fifth is Luke Nelson. Sixth is Audrey Kircher. 7, Ashton Spardella. Number 8, Stephen Way. Number 9, Savannah Riley. Number 10 will be Dom Barnhart. 11, Brian Way. A little bit of inter-family competition here today. Number 12 will be Nadia Franco, and number 13 is Charlotte French. So without further ado, why don't we start with our first contestant today, Sophie de Oliveira. Here's her first limerick. Sophie de Oliveira, bold on the stage, reciting another one of the world's liars with sage. Her voice a melody, her presence so true. In Moja Kopp's verses, emotions she drew. In Dartmouth Spotlight, Sophie takes center page. Let's hear it for Sophie de Oliveira.
Another one of the world's liars by Moja Kopp. I am just another one of the world's liars. Believe me, I have a few charms. Worn out peddler's trinkets with grand names like beauty, friendship, truth, passion. And this one's a real item. Sometimes I even buy it myself. Love. Check my record. Odds are not in your favor that I won't sell out my goods, bolt by night, deny you 3 times before the cock has crowed. Consider this fair warning. Never fall for my spiel. If you do, and end up with a huge bill for damage done, never forgive me.
Okay, well done, Sophie. Always difficult to be the first one to go. So what I didn't mention too is that I also have a limerick for each one of our judges today as we introduce them. So I'll introduce Mr. Karen first. I don't think Mr. Karen needs introduction, but Mr. Karen is one of our judges today. Here's the limerick that ChatGPT came up with for Mr. Karen. In Dartmouth High, Mr. Karen's the sage, teaching Hamlet upon the classroom stage. With fluent Polish and linguistic art, he imparts Shakespeare's lines, a work of heart. In linguistic and literary grace, he engages. There you go. You can clap. You're clapping for ChatGPT. All right. Just waiting for the judges to wrap it up here. Our second contestant today is Yuvi Tomar. Here's Yuvi Tomar's introduction. Yuvi Tomar, with passion ablaze, recites planetarium in a poetic haze. In Dartmouth's realm, a celestial show, Adrian Rich's verses a cosmic flow. With each word, Yuvi's brilliance conveys. Let's hear it for Yuvi Tomar.
Planetarium by Adrian Rich. Thinking of Caroline Herschel, 1750 to 1848, astronomer, sister of William, and others. A woman in the shape of a monster in the shape of a woman. The skies are full of them. A woman in the snow among the clocks and instruments, or measuring the ground with poles. In her 98 years to discover 8 comets, she whom the moon ruled, like us, levitating into the night sky, riding the polished lenses. Galaxies of women, there doing penance for impetuousness, ribs chilled in those spaces of the mind. And I, virile, precise, and absolutely certain, from the mad webs of Uranusborg, encountering the nova, every impulse of light exploding from the core as life flies out of us. Tycho whispering at last, let me not seem to have lived in vain. What we see, and seeing is changing. The light that shrivels a mountain and leaves a man alive. Heartbeat of the pulsar, heart sweating through my body. The radio impulse pouring in from Taurus. I am bombarded, yet I stand. I have been standing all my life in the direct path of a battery of signals, the most accurately transmitted, most untranslatable language in the universe. I am a galactic cloud so deep, so involuted that a light wave could take 15 years to travel through me, and has taken. I am an instrument in the shape of a woman trying to translate pulsations into images for the relief of the body and the reconstruction of the mind.
That is a really long poem. It's pretty impressive that UV is able to do that. And every time I've seen or heard him do that so far, he does it every time without a mistake. It's impressive. All right, as we're waiting for the judges to finish up here, I'd like to read a limerick for our accuracy judge today, Ms. Fifield. Here it is. Ms. Fifield, in high school's embrace, from snowy Minnesota, her heart does race. Teaching Jane Eyre with northern delight, her lessons sparkle pure and bright. In the land of lakes, she dreams of a snowy space. ChatGPT. Okay, our third contestant today is Annika Dupre. Here's her limerick introduction. Annika Dupre, with fervor untold, recites Don's sonnet, a tale of old. Batter my heart in passionate plea, in Dartmouth's echoes her voice sets free, a poetic soul in a world so bold. Let's hear it for Annika Dupre.
Holy Sonnets, Batter My Heart, Three-Person God, by John Donne. Batter my heart, three-person God, for you as yet, but knock, breathe, shine, and seek to mend, that I may rise and stand, o'erthrow me, and bend your force to break, blow, burn, and make me new. I, like an usurped town to another do, labor to admit you, but oh, to no end. Reason, your viceroy and me should defend, but is captived and proves weak or untrue. Yet dearly I love you, and would be loved fain, but am betrothed unto your enemy. Divorce me, untie, or break that knot again. Take me to you, imprison me, for I, except you enthrall me, never shall be free, nor ever chaste, except you ravish me.
Well done, Annika. I didn't mention that Annika is also an assistant editor of The Spectrum, our student newspaper. Okay, another one of our judges today is Ms. Johnson, and we're going to introduce her with her own ChatGPT lyric. In Dartmouth High, Ms. Johnson's the guide, special ed teacher with knowledge wide. Novels in hand, she'd passionately dive with heartwarming stories that help minds thrive. In the world of books, her passion can't hide. Okay, today's fourth contestant in the first round is Tabitha Cabral Elliott. Here is Tabitha's limerick introduction. Tabitha Cabral Elliott, with grace, recites Poe's verses, a haunting embrace. To Helen echoes in Dartmouth's hall. In poetic cadence, she stands tall, a tribute to beauty in a lyrical space. Let's hear it for Tabitha Cabral Elliott.
To Helen by Edgar Allan Poe. Helen, thy beauty is to me like those Nicean barks of yore that gently, o'er a perfumed sea, the weary, way-worn wanderer bore to his own native shore. On desperate seas long wont to roam, thy hyacinth hair, thy classic face, thy Naiad airs have brought me home to the glory that was Greece and the grandeur that was Rome. Lo, in yon brilliant window niche, how statue-like I see thee stand, the agate lamp within thy hand. Ah, Psyche, from the regions which, our holy land. Thank you.
Well done, Tabitha. All right, the third judge that I'd like to introduce is Ms. Grieve. And here is Ms. Greaves' limerick. There once was a teacher named Grieve. At Dartmouth High, her classes did weave. With passion and zest, Gatsby she loved best. Fitzgerald's tales she would joyously cleave. Ms. Grieve. All right, contestant number 5 today in the first round is Luke Nelson. Here is Luke Nelson's limerick introduction. Luke Nelson, with poetic might, recites clear night in the soft moonlight. In Dartmouth's quiet, a celestial song, Charles writes verses gracefully strong. Luke's rendition, a lyrical flight. Let's hear it for Luke Nelson.
Clear Night by Charles Wright. Clear night, thumb top of a moon, a backlit sky. Moon fingers lay down their same routine on the side deck and the threshold, the white keys and the black keys. Bird hush and bird song, a cassia flower falls. I want to be bruised by God. I want to be strung up in a strong light and singled out. I want to be stretched like music wrung from a dropped seed. I want to be entered and picked clean. And the wind says, "What?" to me. And the castor beans, with their little earrings of death, say, "What?" to me. And the stars start out on their cold slide through the dark, and the gears notch in the engine's wheel.
Okay, the next judge that I'd like to introduce is Ms. Xavier. You may not know that Ms. Xavier was for a long time an English teacher at Dartmouth High School before she became our associate principal. She was also the department head / lead teacher of the English department. I'm setting you up because that's part of her limerick. So here's Ms. Xavier's limerick introduction. Ms. Xavier, once an English delight, now in Dartmouth halls, her role takes flight. From novels and sonnets to admin tasks, she wears her hat, skillfully multitasks. An associate principal, her star shining bright. Ms. Xavier. ChatGPT is actually surprisingly emotional. Didn't know that. Contestant number 6 in the first round today, Audrey Kircher. Here is Audrey's limerick introduction. Audrey Kircher, poised and serene, recites War Widow, a scene so keen. In Dartmouth's echo with heartfelt might, Chris Abani's words take their flight. A poignant moment in Audrey's sheen. Let's hear it for Audrey Kircher.
War Window by Chris Abani. The telephone never rings. Still, you pick it up, smile into the static, the breath of those you've loved, long dead. The leaf you pick from the fall rises and dips away. Fingers stiff from time you trace. Staring off into a distance limned by cataracts and other collected debris, you have forgotten none of the long ago joy of an ice cream truck and its summer song. Between the paving stones, between tea, a cup, and the sound of you pouring, between the time you woke that morning and the time when the letter came. A tired sorrow, like an old flagellant, able only to tease with a weak sting. Riding the elevator all day, floor after floor after floor. Each stop some small victory, whittled from the hard stone of death. You smile, They used to write epics about moments like this.
Well done, Audrey. Okay, I also have some limericks just about poetry out loud as we're kind of moving through here. Here's one that ChatGPT wrote just for today's competition. ChatGPT was very busy last night. In a contest called Poetry Out Loud, 13 kids, faces like a wild crowd, rhymes and rhythms they tried to seize, competing for glory and maybe some cheese. The winner's grin, it outshone the whole crowd. You can clap. Go ahead. There is no cheese in today's competition, unfortunately. Maybe the last one. Okay, seventh contestant in today's first round is Ashton Spardella. Here's Ashton's limerick introduction. Ashton Spardella, in the poetic fray, recites Medusa with words that sway. In Dartmouth's realm, a mythic dance, Louise Bogan's verses in Ashton's trance, a mesmerizing tale in lyrical display. Let's hear it for Ashton Spardella.
Medusa by Louise Bogan. I had come to the house in a cave of trees, facing a sheer sky. Everything moved, a bell hung, ready to strike. Sun and reflection wheeled by. When the bare eyes were before me and the hissing hair, held up at a window, seen through a door, the stiff bald eyes, the serpents on the forehead, formed in the air. This is a dead scene, forever now. Nothing will ever stir. The end will never brighten it more than this, nor the rain blur. The water will always fall and will not fall, and the tipped bell make no sound. The grass will always be growing for hay, deep on the ground. And I shall stand here like a shadow under the great balanced day, my eyes on the yellow dust that was lifting in the wind and does not drift away.
Nice job, Ashton. I have a second limerick for each one of the judges as well. We have lots of limericks. Here's Mr. Karen again. Here's my second limerick for Mr. Karen. In Dartmouth's halls, where knowledge takes root, Mr. Karen teaches Hamlet a tale acute. With a Polish fluency, his words unfold Shakespeare's verses, a story to be told. In linguistic harmony, his lessons commute. Okay, our eighth contestant today is Stephen Way. Here is Stephen's limerick introduction. Stephen Way, with passion so true, recites the new Colossus for all to view. In Dartmouth's embrace, a beacon he stands, Emma Lazarus words like golden sands, a voice for liberty in red, white, and blue. Let's hear it for Stephen Way.
The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus. Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land. Here, at our sea-washed sunset gates, shall stand a mighty woman, with a torch whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
Nice job, Stephen. You may not know it, but that poem that Stephen recited was written for the Statue of Liberty when it was first constructed. And I believe that that poem it's etched into the base or it's at the monument itself. That line, the poor and huddled masses, has become sort of an idiom that we use all the time to talk about the Statue of Liberty. All right, we have a second limerick here for Ms. Johnson, who is one of our judges. Here it is. Ms. Johnson at Dartmouth, a beacon so bright, in special ed, she makes everything right. With novels in hand and a heart full of care, she reads to her students with love to share. In the world of learning, she's a radiant light. It's a very emotional computer. All right, our ninth contestant today in round one is Savannah Riley. Here is Savannah's limerick introduction. Savannah Riley on Dartmouth stage recites how dark the beginning with sage. Maggie Smith's verses, a profound art. In Savannah's voice, they find their heart. A poetic journey on life's boundless page. Let's hear it for Savannah Riley.
Sorry. How Dark the Beginning by Maggie Smith. All we ever talk of is light. Let there be light. There was light then. Good light. But what I consider dawn is darker than all of that. So many hours between the day receding and what we recognize as morning, the sun cresting like a wave that won't break over us, as if light were protective, as if no hearts were flayed, no bodies broken on a day like today. And in any movie, the sunrise tells us that everything will be all right. Danger wouldn't dare show up now, dragging its body across the screen. We talk so much of light. Please let me speak on behalf of the good dark. Let us talk more of how dark the beginning of a day is.
Well done, Savannah. I have a second limerick for our judge, Ms. Grieve. Here it is. In Dartmouth High, Mrs. Grieve takes the stage, teaching Gatsby with passion, setting the page. Fitzgerald's prose, her love so clear. In English class, she holds students dear, a literary journey like a well-scripted sage. Okay, our 10th contestant today is Dominic Barnhart. This is Dom's limerick introduction. Dominic Barnhart, with Autumn's Grace, recites Keats' verses in a rhythmic embrace. To autumn echoes in Dartmouth's air, a poetic dance with flair. Dominic's rendition, a season's sweet trace. Let's hear it for Dom.
To Autumn by John Keats. Season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run. To bend with apples the moss cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core. To swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with a sweet kernel. To set budding more and still more later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has overbeen their clammy cells. Who hath not seen thee oft bid thy store? Sometimes whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting careless on a granary floor, thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind. Or on a half-reaped furrow, sound asleep, drowse with the fume of poppies, while thy hook spares the next sways in all its twined flowers. And sometimes, like a gleaner, thou dost keep steady thy laden head across a brook, or by a cider press, with patient look, thou watchest the last oozings hours by hours. Where are the songs of spring? Aye, where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day, and touch the rosy plains with stubble hue. And then in a wailful choir, the small gnats mourn among the river sorrows, borne aloft or sinking as the light wind lives or dies. And full-grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne, hedge crickets sing, and now with treble soft, the red breast whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies.
Nice job, Dom. Here's the second limerick we have for Ms. Xavier. Don't forget, Ms. Xavier was formerly an English teacher here at Dartmouth High School. Ms. Xavier, from teaching to admin she went, a transition from the classroom, contentment. Associate principal with wisdom refined, at Dartmouth High, her influence outlined. In the school's journey, her impact is evident. Okay, today's 11th contestant is Brian Way. This is Brian's limerick introduction. Brian Way, with poetic endeavor, recites Tracy K. Smith's verses, so clever. In Dartmouth space, emotions unfold, semi-splendid in stories untold, a lyrical journey where words gently sever. Let's hear it for Brian Way.
Semi-Splendid by Tracy K. Smith. You flinch. Something flickers, not fleeing your face. My heart hammers at the ceiling, telling my tongue to turn it down. Too late. The something climbs, leaps, is falling now across us like the prank of an icy, brainy lord. I chose the wrong word. I am wrong for not choosing, merely to smile, to pull you toward me and away from what you think of as that other me who wanders lost among. Among whom? The many? The rare? I wish you didn't care. I watch you watching her. Her very shadow is a rage that trashes the rooms of your eyes. Do you claim surprise at what she wants? The poor girl, pelted with despair, who flits from grief to grief? Isn't it you she seeks? And if you blame her, know that she blames you for choosing. Not her, but me. Love is never fair. But do we, should we care?
Well done, Brian. All right, we have a second limerick for our accuracy judge, Ms. Fifield. I don't know if you know this, but Ms. Fifield is proudly from Minnesota, grew up in Minnesota. She loves snow, she loves winter. Little context for this limerick. Here is Ms. Fifield's second limerick. Ms. Fifield from Minnesota's domain, in high school halls she imparts knowledge and gain, teaching Jane Eyre with lessons profound, her heart in the north where snow's soft ground, in the warmth of her words echoes the chilly refrain. Okay, today's 12th contestant is Nadia Franco. Here's Nadia's limerick introduction. Nadia Franco, with words that flow, recites ways of talking in Dartmouth's glow. In Hodgins' verses, a linguistic art, Nadia's rendition, a performance to impart, a poetic dialogue in rhythmic undertow. Let's hear it for Nadia Franco.
Ways of Talking by Hodgin. We used to like talking about grief. Our journals and letters were packed with losses, complaints, and sorrows. Even if there was no grief, we wouldn't stop lamenting, as though longing for the charm of a distressed face. Then, we couldn't help expressing grief. So many things descended without warning. Labor wasted, loves lost, houses gone, marriages broken, friends estranged, ambitions worn away by immediate needs. Words lined up in our throat for a good whining. Grief seemed like an endless river, the only immortal flow to life. After losing a land and then giving up a tongue, we stopped talking about grief. Smiles began to brighten our faces. We laugh a lot at our own mess. Things become beautiful, even hailstones in a strawberry field.
Good job, Nadia. All right, I have another limerick for Poetry Out Loud in general. In the hallowed hall of Poetry Out Loud, 13 souls eloquence their shroud. In each cadence, a tale to unfold, serious echoes profound and bold. Through verses, emotions gracefully plowed. Very late applause for that one. All right, our 13th and final contestant in this first round will be Charlotte French, who is a Poetry Out Loud veteran or alumna. Here is Charlotte French's ChatGPT limerick introduction. Charlotte French, with courage to dare, recites fairy tale with poetic flair. In Dartmouth's realm, a tale unfolds, Jehan Dubrow's verses in whispers told, a laryngitic fairy tale, a unique affair. Let's hear it for Charlotte French.
Fairy Tale, With Laryngitis and Resignation Letter by Jehan Dubrow. You remember, the mermaid makes a deal. Her tongue evicted from her throat, and moving is a knife cut with every step. This is what escape from water means. Dear colleagues, you write, for weeks I've been typing this letter in the bright kingdom of my imagination. Your body is a ship of pain, Pleasure is when you climb the rocks and watch the moonlight touching everywhere you want to go. A silver world called far away. Dear colleagues, you write, this place is a few sentences contained by the cursor's rippling barrier. What happened here is only beaks and brackets, the seraph's liquid stroke. The old story has witches, a prince in love with the surging silence of women, a knife that turns the water red. You write, dear colleagues. Now, these years are filed in the infinite oceans of bureaucracy. Everything bleaches or fades. In other words, goodbye. Sometimes it's possible to walk, although you've been told inside the oyster shell of your heart, there is no soul. Creatures like you must end as a spray of salt. Green droplets floating, breathless, in the air.
Well done, Charlotte. That concludes the very first round of Poetry Out Loud. Don't forget there's a second round where each contestant will come up and recite a second poem. We'll probably break until period 2. We'll take a short break here so contestants can move around a little bit. I just want to point out that this banner that is behind me has been the banner for Poetry Out Loud for probably 12 years. And I wish I knew the original artist for the banner, but it's amazing that we've been able to hang on to it this long. And when I pulled it out yesterday from my closet, I remembered that each year we've been having students who have competed sign the back of the banner with the year. And it's really interesting just to see whose names are behind there. One that really popped out for me was Jonathan Bakdayan, who signed it in 2019, right before COVID. So we're going to pause here. We'll be back at the very beginning of period 2. Thank you, contestants. You can take a break. We'll be right back. I'm hoping we still have 13 contestants, that some didn't run for the exits. They're all here for the second round. All right, everybody, welcome back to the second round of Poetry Out Loud. If this is the first time that you're watching this, or the first time you're in the audience, Poetry Out Loud is a competition where each student memorizes 2 poems. In the first round, each student recites their first poem for the judges, and we take a little break in between, and now we're on the second round where each student will recite their second poem. Poetry Out Loud is a national competition. The winner of today's competition will go on to the regional state competition, which is in Cape Cod each year, sometime in March. The winner of that one will go to the state final in Boston. The winners of all the state competitions go to the national in Washington, D.C. And the final winner at the end wins a $20,000 prize at the end. It is difficult to do this. I think we should acknowledge that before we go into the second round. It's not easy to memorize poetry, but it's doubly difficult, I think, to memorize it and stand in front of an audience and recite that poetry. Something happens to your memory a lot of times when you stand in front of an audience. I think many people experience that if you've done it in a classroom, but now they're on stage, there are cameras, there's a microphone, it makes it much different. So I think we should just kind of give a little applause for all 13 contestants right now for making it through this and being able to do this. An excellent first round. Okay, so if you're watching this for the first time, like I said, we do have 13 contestants from Dartmouth High School, and our contestants are Sophie D'Oliveira, Yuvi Tomar, Annika Dupree, who I really apologize, I was mispronouncing her name in the first round. I grew up in New Jersey, and I think I have a big problem with vowel sounds sometimes, and I just kind of make things up as I go. We have number 4 is Tabitha Cabral Elliott. Our 5th contestant is Luke Nelson. Our 5th is Audrey Kircher. Our 7th is Ashton Spardella. Our 8th is Stephen Way. 9th, Savannah Riley. Number 10 is Don Barnard. Number 11 is Brian Way. Number 12, Nadia Franco. And our 13th contestant is Charlotte French. So, again, if you're just tuning in, we have been introducing each one of the contestants with a limerick that was written by ChatGPT late last night. And one of the things I've been doing also has been to introduce each one of the judges. And I was remiss in not having a limerick for both our prompter, who is Ms. Rivard, and our tabulator, who is Ms. Mitchell here today. And in our break in between, we now have limericks for them. So we're going to introduce our prompter, Ms. Rivard, first with her ChatGPT lyric. Here it is. There once was a teacher, Ms. Rivard. In Fairhaven, her lessons weren't marred. To kill a mockingbird, she would preach. With passion, her students she'd reach. In English class, her love for literature starred. You can applaud. That's right. That's right. That was the New Jersey pronunciation of Fairhaven. Pardon me for that. Is Fairhaven, right, with the accent on the second syllable. All right, so everybody is kind of filing into the auditorium here still, but we're going to get started with our first contestant just because we're a little concerned about being able to finish in time. Second round. Our first contestant is Sophie D'Oliveira. Here is Sophie's second limerick introduction. Sophie D'Oliveira, courage in her stance, reciting Ha Jin's verse, a powerful dance. Because I will be silenced, she declared. In Dartmouth's echoes, her voice not spared. A student's passion, making words advance. Let's hear it for Sophie D'Oliveira.
Because I will be silenced by Ha Jin. Once I have the freedom to say, my tongue will lose its power. Since my poems strive to break the walls that cut off people's voices, they become drills and hammers. But I will be silenced. The starred tie around my neck at any moment can tighten into a cobra. How can I speak about coffee and flowers?
Thank you, Sophie. I apologize for using my phone, but I just created some of these limericks minutes ago, and they're still on my phone. So, Mr. Shea, if you saw this, came in at the end of the first round and announced a change to our pay schedule that I believe begins next week, and I felt bad that we didn't have a limerick for Mr. Shea. So here it is. I don't think Mr. Shea is here, but maybe he is listening. Here is Mr. Shea's limerick. Mr. Shea from Dartmouth High, so cool, introduced a policy breaking the school rule. Pace period now transformed innovations, minds informed, Dartmouth spirit, in his hands, a jewel. There you go, ChatGPT. Our second contestant today is UV Tomar in the second round, and here's UV's limerick introduction. A student named UV with heart so brave, reciting John Lennon, a poetic wave. In Dartmouth's realm, his voice takes flight, Mary Jo Salter's words, pure and bright. A poetic moment in UV's verse we crave. Let's hear it for UV.
John Lennon by Mary Jo Salter. The voices were already turning sad. Those fresh-faced... Sorry. The music was already turning sad. Those fresh-faced voices singing in around the lie that time could set its needle back and play from the beginning. Had you lived to 80, as you'd wished, who knows? You might have broken from the circle of that past, more ours than yours. Never even sure which was the truest of your hair. Sorry, can I? Never even sure which was the truest of your hair color. Never even sure which was the truest of your hair color. We claimed you for ourselves, called you John, and named the day you left us, an end to hope itself. Sorry. It isn't true. What is this?
The second round is the hardest one. It really is. And I should probably explain that the students memorized their first poem probably 2 months ago. It's been quite a while. So those are really, really ingrained. The second one, many of them probably chose right before we left for Christmas break. It always makes the second round very, very difficult. It's much, much different. So I applaud the courage for anybody coming up here and standing up here and attempting to do this. It's not easy. Thank you, everybody. Okay, I'd like to introduce our tabulator today with a limerick is Ms. Mitchell down front here, and here's Ms. Mitchell's ChatGPT limerick. Ms. Mitchell, with lessons so bright, freshmen's minds she would ignite, teaching prose with delight. In her class, all felt the light. With young Luke, her joy took flight. You can clap. Ms. Mitchell has a young son named Luke. That's why Luke is in there. Okay, our third contestant in the second round is Annika Dupree. Here is Annika's limerick introduction. Annika Dupree, with fervor untold, recites, I just read the wrong lyric. Hold on one second, let me back up. Annika Dupree, with courage so keen, recited Whitman, astronomer seen. In Dartmouth's embrace, her voice did soar. The poem echoed a celestial lore, a star in the class where poetry convenes. Let's hear it for Annika.
When I heard The Learned Astronomer by Walt Whitman. When I heard The Learned Astronomer, when the proofs, the figures were ranged in columns before me, when I was shown the charts and diagrams to add, divide, and measure them. When I, sitting, heard the astronomer where he lectured with much applause in the lecture room, how soon unaccountable I became tired and sick till rising and gliding out, I wandered off by myself in the mystical, moist night air, and from time to time looked up in perfect silence at the stars.
Well done, Annika. And I just want to mention again that Annika is an assistant editor of the Spectrum, our school newspaper. I'll give a little plug for that right now. If you want to read it, it is at dhsspectrum.com. I have a second limerick for Mr. Shea. I don't think he's here, but I made two, so there he is. So I'm going to read the second one for Mr. Shea. I apologize for not having a limerick introduction the first time. Here's Mr. Shea's second limerick introduction. At Dartmouth High, Mr. Shea took command. Pace periods policy quite grand. A change in the air. In the school's vibrant lair, innovation sparked across the land. Thank you. All right, our fourth contestant in the second round is Tabitha Cabral Elliott. Here's Tabitha's limerick introduction. Tabitha Cabral Elliott, bold and bright, recited Shakespeare with all her might. Sonnet 18 in a poetic embrace. Her words painted summer's gentle grace. In Dartmouth's halls, her performance took flight. Let's hear it for Tabitha Cabral Elliott.
Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. And sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Thank you.
Well done, Tabitha. I forgot to mention to the people who are in the audience here, please make sure that you refrain from talking while the poets are reciting. We have a second limerick for Ms. Rivard, who is our prompter down front here. Here is Ms. Rivard's second limerick. In Fairhaven, Ms. Rivard's the sage, teaching To Kill a Mockingbird all the rage. Her grammar lessons were keen. In the classroom, she'd be seen, a literary guide, wise and engaged. Okay, our fifth contestant in the second round is Luke Nelson. Here is Luke's Limerick introduction. There once was a student, young Luke, reciting Longfellow, his voice a rebuke. The arrow and the song, with passion untold, in Dartmouth's halls his eloquence rolled, a poetic performance, leaving in awe and puke. Let's hear it for Luke.
The Arrow in the Song by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I shot an arrow into the air. It fell to earth, I knew not where. For so swiftly it flew, the sight could not follow it in its flight. I breathed the song into the air. It fell to earth, I knew not where. For who has sight so keen and strong that it can follow the flight of song? Long, long afterward, in an oak, I found the arrow, still unbroke, and the song from beginning to end I found again in the heart of a friend.
Well done, Luke, and I would like to apologize to Luke. This is the danger of using ChatGPT. For some reason, the word puke rhymed with rebuke at the end of that limerick. Thank you, ChatGPT. That's the only one I didn't read before I read it. Don't turn in something without reading it if you copy it from ChatGPT. There was nothing about puke in that poem. You really shouldn't use that. I heard that. So we have a second limerick for Ms. Mitchell, who was our tabulator today. Here's her second limerick. And I'm going to read it before I speak it to you. Ms. Mitchell, with passion and flair, teaching freshmen with utmost care. In literature's embrace, her class of vibrant space, with young Luke, a duo beyond compare. Our sixth contestant in the second round is Audrey Kircher. Here is Audrey's limerick introduction. Audrey Kircher, with courage and might, recited first vote with eloquent light. In Dartmouth's halls her voice did resound, a poem by Camilla Moon, profound. Her recital, a poetic flight. Let's hear it for Audrey Kircher.
First Vote by Kamala Aisha Moon. It was hers. She had this choice. Behind curtained bliss, Dad's chest full on the other side, as her tapered hand pulled the lever. No matter how wide the final margin, a lone ballot never counted so much.
Well done, Audrey. Okay, we are officially out of limericks at this point. Oh, you have one about me. Are you going to come up and read it? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I'm going to read this limerick about myself. We have a guest MC coming up right now.
The marvelous Mr. Higgins. There once was a man from New Jersey whose vowels were quite topsy-turvy. In AP English he'd teach, but vowel sounds did breach. The English department found it quite quirky.
Those New Jersey vowels. All right, our seventh contestant in the second round today is Ashton Spardella. Here is Ashton's limerick introduction. Ashton Spardella with confidence stood, reciting Paz's poem, both powerful and good. Wind, water, stone in eloquent array, in Dartmouth High spotlight, a bright display. In poetic cadence, Ashton's talent withstood. Let's hear it for Ashton Spardella.
Wind, Water, Stone by Octavio Paz. Water hollows stone, wind scatters water. Stone stops the wind, water, wind, stone. Wind carves stone, stone's a cup of water. Water escapes and becomes wind, stone, wind, water. Wind sings in its whirling, water murmurs going by. Unmoving, stone stays still. Wind, water, stone. Each is another and no other, crossing and vanishing through their empty names. Water, stone, wind.
Again, for those who weren't watching the first round, the poster behind me has been our backdrop for Poetry Out Loud for a long time. We think maybe 12 years, something like that. And we just can't seem to remember who the artist was, and the artist didn't sign the poster. I wish I knew. Our 8th contestant today is Stephen Way. Here is Stephen's limerick introduction. Young Stephen Way, with courage so keen, recites 300 goats, a poetic scene. In the classroom's hush, his voice takes flight, echoing Nye's words with pure delight. A poetic journey with Stephen, serene. Let's hear it for Stephen Way.
"300 Goats" by Naomi Shihab Nye. In icy fields, is water flowing in the tank? Will they huddle together, warm bodies pressing? Is it the year of the goat or the sheep? Scholars debating Chinese zodiac, follower or leader. Oh, lead them to a warm corner, little ones toward bulkier bodies. Lead them to the brush which cuts the icy wind. Another frigid night swooping down. Aren't you worried about them? I asked my friend, who lives by herself on the ranch of goats, far from here near the town of Ozona. She shrugs. Not really. They know what to do. They're goats.
Well done, Stephen. Stephen is a legendary math student here at Dartmouth High School, and I have to say it's especially gratifying to see a student like Stephen participating in Poetry Out Loud. And that's the mark of the well-rounded student right there. Our 9th contestant in the second round today is Savannah Riley. Here is Savannah's limerick introduction. Savannah Riley, with grace so fine, recited Caged Bird, a poetic line. Maya Angelou's words take flight. In the spotlight, Savannah shines bright, a verse well spoken like a song's sweet chime. Let's hear it for Savannah.
Caged Bird by Maya Angelou. A free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips its wing in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The cage bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the cage bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, the trade wind soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a cage bird stands on the grave of dreams. His shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The cage bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the cage bird sings of freedom.
Well done, Savannah. Sonnet 29 by William Shakespeare. When in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes, I all alone beweep my outcast state, and trouble deaf heaven with my bootless cries, and look upon myself and curse my fate. Wishing me like to one more rich in hope, featured like him with friends possessed, desiring this man's art and that man's scope, with what I most enjoy contented least. Yet in these thoughts myself almost despising, happily I think on thee, and then like to the lark at break of day arising, from sullen earth sings hymns at heaven's gate. For thy sweet love remembered such wealth brings, that then I scorn to change my state with kings. I thought I'd show you that teachers can do this too. Our 10th contestant in round 2 today is Dom Barnhart. Here's Dom's limerick introduction. Young Dominic Barnhart, with poetic charm, recited Catch a Little Rhyme with no alarm. In Dartmouth halls his voice did gleam, echoing Merriam's words in a rhythmic stream, a verse virtuoso, causing hearts to warm. Let's hear it for Dom.
Catch a Little Rhyme by Eve Merriam. Once upon a time, I caught a little rhyme. I set it on the floor, but it ran right out the door. I chased it on my bicycle, but it melted to an icicle. I scooped it up in my hat, but it turned into a cat. I caught it by the tail, and it stretched into a whale. I followed it in a boat, but it changed into a goat. When I fed it tin and paper, it became a tall skyscraper. Then it grew into a kite and flew far out of sight.
Well done, Dom. Okay, our 11th contestant in the second round is Brian Way. Here's Brian's limerick introduction. There once was a student, Brian Way, reciting Recuerdo in a poetic display. With Malay's words, his voice took flight, and Dartmouth High spotlight shining bright, a poet in the making in the realm of word play. Wow, there were my New Jersey vowels right there, I just mangled that. Let's hear it for Brian Way.
Recuerdo by Edna St. Vincent Millay. We were very tired, we were very merry. We had gone back and forth all night on the ferry. It was bare and bright and smelled like a stable. While we looked into a fire, we leaned across a table. We lay on a hilltop underneath the moon, and the whistles kept blowing. The dawn came soon. We were very tired. We were very merry. We had gone back and forth all night on the ferry. And you ate an apple, and I ate a pear, from a dozen of each that we had bought somewhere. And the sky went wan, and the wind came cold, and the sun rose dripping, a bucketful of gold. We were very tired. We were very merry. We had gone back and forth all night on the ferry. We hailed, "Good morrow, mother," to a shawl-covered head, and bought a morning paper that neither of us read. And she wept, "God bless you," for the apples and pears, and gave her all our money but our subway fares.
Good job, Brian. Brian, brother of Stephen, also an excellent math student. I don't know if you know this, but in Shakespeare, poetry is almost always referred to as numbers because Shakespeare's poetry always had a specific rhythm to it, 5 lines, written in iambs, iambic pentameter. And sometimes the easiest poems to memorize are the ones that have a rhythm and a rhyme. And I think it's because there's music to that. And in ancient Greece, music was always considered to be a subset of math. It was always taught as a math subject because there's so much numerology, there's so much rhythm in there that can be dissected in that way. I thought I would take a second here as well before we go to our 12th contestant to just explain how each one of the contestants is being judged today. So I have the contest evaluation sheet in front of me, and there are 5 different categories on which each is judged. So the first one is physical presence. The second one is voice and articulation. Can we understand? Can we hear the words? The third is your interpretation of the poem. The fourth is evidence of understanding. And then the 5th category is overall performance. And that leads to a very strange score of 33 points, which is an odd number. And then we tack on to that 8 possible points for accuracy, which is being judged by Ms. Fifield. So that leads to a total of 41 possible points for each student. Okay, our 12th contestant in the second round is Nadia Franco. Here is Nadia's limerick introduction. There once was a student named Nadia Franco, reciting Hausmann's words with a poetic glow. He would not stay, her voice did decree, in verses flowing, a poignant plea. In the realm of poetry, she stole the show. Let's hear it for Nadia Franco.
He would not stay for me, and who can wonder, by A.E. Hausmann. He would not stay for me, and who can wonder? He would not stay to stand and gaze. I shook his hand and tore my heart in sunder and went with half my life about my ways.
Nice job, Nadia. So we've reached the end of the second round with our 13th contestant, Charlotte French. Here is Charlotte's limerick introduction. A student named Charlotte, so keen, reciting rondeau with a poetic sheen. In Dartmouth's halls, her voice would chime, Leigh Hunt's verses, a rhythmic rhyme. A performance so sweet, like a poetic dream. Let's hear it for Charlotte French.
Rondo by Lee Hunt. Jenny kissed me when we met, jumping from the chair she sat in. Time, you thief, who love to get sweets into your list. Put that in. Say I'm weary, say I'm sad, say that health and wealth have missed me. Say I'm growing old, but add, Jenny kissed me.
Okay, and that's the end of the second round. If all the contestants could come up here and kind of come up around the poster. Come on up, everybody. We'll take a minute here to tally the results, and we'll announce our winners. Let's just hear a round of applause for each one of these performers. I'd like to kind of go through each name. Sophie De Oliveira, who recited Another One of the World's Liars by Moha Kiaf, and Because I Will Be Silenced by Ha Jin. Let's hear some applause. Yuvi Tomar, who recited Planetarium by Adrian Rich and John Lennon by Mary Jo Salter. Annika Dupree, who recited Holy Sonnets, Batter My Heart, Three-Person God by John Donne, and When I Heard the Learned Astronomer by Walt Whitman. Tabitha Cabral Elliott, who recited To Helen by Edgar Allan Poe and Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. Luke Nelson recited Clear Night by Charles Wright and The Arrow and the Song by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Audrey Kircher, who recited War Widow by Chris Abani and First Vote by Kamala Aisha Moon. Ashton Spardella recited Medusa by Louise Bogan and Wind, Water, Stone by Octavia Paz. Stephen Way recited The New Colossus by Emma Lazarus and 300 Goats by Naomi Shihab Nye. Savannah Riley recited How Dark the Beginning by Maggie Smith and Caged Bird by Maya Angelou. Don Bonhart recited To Autumn by John Keats and Catch a Little Rhyme by Eve Merriam. Brian Way recited Semi-Splendid by Tracy K. Smith and Recuerdo by Edna St. Vincent Millay. Nadia Franco recited Ways of Talking by Ha Jin and He Would Not Stay For Me and Who Can Wonder by A.E. Hausman. And Charlotte French, who recited Fairy Tale with Laryngitis and Resignation Letter by Yehan Dubrow and Rondo by Lee Hunt. I also want to thank again to our judges who took the time out of their day to judge this competition. Rachel Xavier, Jesse Grieve, Kristen Johnson, and John Karen. Thank you very much. Thank you to our prompter, Kim Rivard, our accuracy judge, Ann Fifield, our tabulator, Sarah Mitchell, and I am your MC. I'm your substitute MC, actually. It was meant to be Ms. Lassie, but I'm filling in today because poor Ms. Lassie has a sinus infection today. And I also want to thank the administration, Mr. Shea, and everybody else for being supportive of this effort and allowing us to take the time at the beginning of the day to do this every year. We usually do this actually right before Christmas break, but we had so many conflicts this year that we kept on pushing this and pushing it. I think we've had 4 or 5 different dates for this until we finally arrived at January 12th, and we were able to put this together. So, we have Ms. Mitchell, who is our tabulator. If you want to come on up here, do you want to announce the results or you want me to do it? Okay. Okay, so we're just going to announce the winner of the contest today. Again, this is difficult to do. I really applaud everybody for being up here today. It's challenging, it's terrifying, I think, to be up here in front of a group, to be on camera and do this. Let's hear one final round of applause here for everybody who participated today. We've been doing this for quite a long time at Dartmouth High, I think maybe 15 years now. We get a little plaque every year from Poetry Out Loud, and I think we're up to 15 years now. We've been doing this, one of the longest running competitions. All right, so our overall winner of Poetry Out Loud today, who will be going on to the state regional competition sometime in February, I believe it's February. Our winner today is Charlotte French. Congratulations. Shake your hand. You don't say anything.
Oh, okay.
We don't have a trophy, I apologize.
It's okay.
Shake again. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. That's the end of Poetry Out Loud today. Actually, that's not the end. I think there's something else we're supposed to do here at the end. Oh, and thank you to DCTV. Thank you very much for reminding me. I appreciate their efforts in setting this up, especially Peter Chase for being so accommodating. I know it's a lot of work to set up this whole process, and thank you to the students who are working the cameras in the back. It really is amazing how we're able to stream events now. You know, I think 4 or 5 years ago, this would have been unheard of now, but we can regularly turn into the DC TV YouTube channel and catch sporting events and things like this. And I'm hoping that some of your parents were watching this from home or from work, wherever they are. So yeah, we really appreciate you being here. Thank you. Let's hear some applause for DC TV.